Hello, I'm Lindy Roya, founder of Park Meadows Pilates and Physical Therapy and creator of the Body Truth program. Today I'd like to talk to you specifically about Body Truth for golf. One of the terms that we hear a lot in golf is hip turn. And I've made a previous video about this that you can reference, specifically about where our hips are located in our body. I'd like to dive into that a little more deeply in this video and help you understand better how the pelvis and the hips are actually two separate things, and how understanding how these two things work together will greatly improve your performance and increase your club head speed for golf. So when we talk about the hips, what most of us refer to is actually the pelvis, this large section at the base of the spine below the rib cage that is sort of like a circular cylinder of bone, if you will. From the pelvis is where our legs fall from. Or you could say that our pelvis is supported over the top of our legs. The place where that support happens is called the hip joint. And the hip joint is really quite narrow in terms of where it's located in your body. So when we talk about hip turn in golf, it's really important that we all get on the same page about specifically what we're referring to, because your performance is ultimately going to be a result of how you understand a command or how you understand a concept and interpret it through your body and ultimately into movement. So hip turn specifically is really pelvic turn. It's the pelvis that's rotating. Usually with a right-handed golfer, the pelvis is rotating to the right in a backswing and to the left in follow-through. So when the pelvis is rotating, what's really going on underneath is what's important. The hips are actually rotating in the opposite direction, meaning that the pelvis is going one way, but in order for the legs to support that down into the ground, into the feet, the femur bones, the upper leg bones, actually are rotating in the opposite direction. So here's what I mean by that. This is the right half of a pelvis. This would be this bone right here. So this is the right half of the pelvis. We've taken the spine away from this particular bone. And this is a right femur bone or right leg bone. So when you rotate the pelvis, for example, in the backswing, when the pelvis is rotating to the right, the leg on the right side actually has to rotate inwardly. So this is exactly what's happening in the hip joint in the backswing. On the left side of the body, the left femur bone actually has to rotate the opposite direction. I'll show you what this looks like in a close-up so that you can have a better understanding. So on our skeleton here, this is the pelvis. These are the lower leg bones. This is left leg, right leg. Here's the hip joint. And of course, we don't have this hardware in our joints. This is just for the sake of keeping our skeleton held together so that we can use him for demonstration. But when the pelvis rotates one direction, so for example, when the pelvis is coming to the right, such as in backswing for a right-hand golfer, the femur bones underneath rotate the opposite way to help to support that movement. Then in follow-through, they go the other direction. So one leg is rotating in and the other one's rotating out, and then that reverses depending on whether we're in backswing or follow-through. And this is actually how we balance the pelvis at the hip joint over the lower leg to generate rotation and generate power from the pelvis. So you can see that when we talk about hip turn, there are really a couple of different things going on between the pelvis and the legs at the hip joint. And that is that if my pelvis is rotating one direction, for example, to the right for a backswing, my legs are actually rotating in the opposite direction underneath to support that movement. So specifically for backswing, my pelvis is going to the right, but my legs have to rotate in the opposite direction. In this case, my right leg has to rotate in, and my left leg has to rotate out to support the movement of the pelvis. In follow-through, it's the opposite. So my pelvis is going to the left, but my legs actually have to rotate in the opposite direction, so the left one going in, the right one going out, to support that movement. This is quite a complex move, as you can see, and if you have some kind of problem in the hip joint itself or in the spine, you're going to have a more difficult time generating the power that you need through the pelvis in order to get club head speed to the ball. I hope this has been helpful for you. I look forward to giving you more tips and techniques in Body Truth for Golf in the future. Thank you for watching.